chat session as well. Q&A. Cameraman. Who's the cameraman? I hear someone talking there. Oh, yeah. This feature is disabled. I don't know how we find out how many people are actually logged in.
Yeah.
If someone got a laptop, we can. I got a laptop.
But I think you can see it in the.
I can press play from here, but that's for cheating. No. No, it'd just be interesting to know whether to. You can go to your. Did I send you the link? Did I? Okay, let's. I'll just forward you the link. You have a look on your machine. See if I don't know if it tells you the number of people who are connected. We just have a quick look on your machine. I just sent you the link. Oh yeah, it's a bit of a mess. I know. I don't know if it makes sense for all of us to be here. Like, but,
we can watch the video.
Yeah, you can come in. Like, pull in your chair. You know everyone, I guess. So. You know Roxana, yeah.
Actually, come on.
How you doing?
How are you?
So I asked Cameron to present Caramel. The installer. I don't see anyone online yet, but not viewers. There we go. Actually, we can see it here.
Let's try to log in.
Okay, I'll just send a reminder to the list.
Yeah. If I knew I could send it to the whole list, so no, not the whole list. Okay, BiobankCloud 49.
Sorry about that. No, this is fine. This is just internal. I should start Caramel here. If you connect things, and I will have one viewer. You should have the email.
Computer.
You don't have internet, so it's 6. Not working. Huh? Well, we can't see. Oh, one viewer, right? It's appearing. That must be you. How do I get rid of this? Oh. Angler Jess. How's your thing going? Let's just jump in. Look at it. Share the screen. Unless you make it an official meeting. Share
Late.
Huh? Are you in?
Yeah.
0 viewers. Can you access the chat?
Yeah.
Can you write something in the chat? What kind of lag is it? How long is the lag? Because we tried it out on Wednesday and the lag was about 30 seconds. There's quite a long lag actually, which is a bit of a. I mean, if we're going to do a webinar this way, it's a little bit weird. Like, you know, people write something.
We don't use actually the We
It's
use,
free.
yeah.
Do you have something?
Yeah, we have the platform.
Okay, then we can do it.
Adobe Connect,
Adobe Connect, okay.
and it's quite good.
Are you actually viewing, Kamal?
Yeah.
Because it's not coming up in the viewers here. Oh, one viewer is coming up.
You see?
Okay, 3 viewers. Oh, can you talk in the chat?
We don't find the chat.
You don't see the chat? Aha, okay. Q&A is there?
What is this?
You can like what you say.
Okay. Okay, so the chat's not working for people. Okay, so that's fine.
Yeah, but the chat, the people can't type. Actually, it should be.
There's 2 viewers on.
How should I get in chat?
No, it mightn't be. It might be for people who are just actually part of the presentation.
Yeah, because people can ask questions, and then
Yeah, but I don't know. I think group chat is for people who are actually presenting the webinar, not for Q&A. Is for people who question and answer for people who are.
maybe you have to activate it for people that people can type the questions.
Yeah, but I don't know. It might be something because if I go Q&A here, it says features disabled. So it might be because. Okay. So what I think we'll do is we'll just start. So there's a couple of viewers on. I don't know who's on. Nobody's talking to me. I'll be on Skype if you need to chat to me. Jim.dowling is the handle. So Jim.dowling at Skype if you want to have a chat. But otherwise, let's get started.
Yes.
So this is us. There's a bunch of us here in the room. There's way more people here in the room than there is online. Where's my Galis? You go call in my Galis. Grab a chair as well. He can talk about some stuff earlier on. Pull over a chair. Okay, I'm going to share the screen. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about BiobankCloud and how to install it. This is the app that we get in. Its branding, it will kind of change. It says Hopsworks, but we will change the branding to BiobankCloud soon enough. But if you want to get started today, we're using the Hops website for the software. And if we go in here, you can see there's a link which is getting started. So we have someone on that. Right. Okay. So in here, if you're doing development of Hops, or Hopsworks in particular, which is the web application, you can click in here and there's some instructions on how to get started. It's quite a bit involved, so not for the faint-hearted. And if you want to just try out the web application Hopsworks, you can click on Vagrant. That's the recommended way for beginning, at least. And we have a Vagrant file for this, and you'll need to install something called Virtual as well as Vagrant and VirtualBox to get this running. The other way we're doing it is Caramel, which most of you know. If it's BiobankCloud, hey, how's it going? And this is the Caramel website, so you can just download it from getting started. Windows, Linux, Apple. Download it from here, and once you have Caramel downloaded and run it, which we have here, I'm running it. I'm building it directly from source code. So I'm going to run Caramel here. So what you'll find is if you go to Caramel, the installation directory of Caramel here, we have a folder called examples. And inside examples, there's stable and testing. So if you want to just try out the platform stable, I recommend Hopsworks. You can try one of these ones, the 5-node or 6-node. They're quite big. If you want to have a smaller one, we have Hopsworks for a single node. So that one works at the moment. There's another one that's in development, which is BioBank single node. There may be some issues with it, there may not be. That has the entire stack, including Cuneiform and Atom. whereas Hopsworks doesn't have all those yet. So if you want to just try Hopsworks single, you can just open up like this. This is going to show you the Hopsworks platform on a single node, and you can see quite a lot of services. I'm not going to talk about them now, but you can just launch it by putting in an EC2 access key and secret key for EC2, putting in your SSH key. It should pick, if you're running on Linux or Apple, it should pick these up automatically, and then you can run it. And we'll let this run in the background. So what's happened is when I click to run it, it's changed to another screen which shows us the cluster itself. So this is the cluster we just launched, and there's some links here that you can click on. So status is a very useful one. It tells you what's going on, and we'll just let that run in the background. Okay, so when that finishes, what you'll get back is a link in this services link here to the actual service, which will be this web page. So I have a comment here saying that the resolution is too low. You'll have to click on that yourself, Ali. You can change it to 720 in your browser. So it defaults is 480. You have to change that yourself. We saw that ourselves. I think you're in there, Kamal. So if you go into the bottom right-hand corner, okay, and also there's a 30-second lag between us talking and you hearing. There's about a 30-second lag between us talking and you hearing on chat. Okay, which isn't great. Okay, I'm going to make this bigger, just so that people can see. This is the login page. Have you guys seen this? You have. What?
No.
You haven't seen this, no? So when you create it, the default account is admin@kth.se. Huh? Yeah, and then admin is the password. And you can click on remember. I'll just log in, and we get this thing here. I'm going to scroll out a bit. Let me log out again, just to see how we register. Ollie, you'll notice that the two-factor authentication isn't done, so that's where we'd like your help. We have pretty much the same banking classes that we had before, and CAUTH is in there, but we haven't enabled it right now. It's still the Glassfish at the back end. Okay, so let's log in again. Okay, so this is the welcome page. And what you can see here is this is a link you can click to get back to the logo. Ali's saying it didn't change at 720. Did it work for you at 720, Colin?
It's already essential, so the space is small.
Okay, can you make it big? And we'll see what happens.
No,
is it
it's
something
the
to do with
biggest
the
is
screen?
central.
Oh, right, I see what the problem is. It's sharing two screens. That's what the problem is. Okay, very good. We have an issue here, Ali, which is that I'm sharing two screens, I can see, not one screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop screen sharing and say hello again. And then I'm just going to share my browser. And that should work a lot better. Okay, so it's going to take 20 seconds or so to get back to everyone else. Okay, so when we logged in here, we can see we have this is just a link back to the home page. This is your account in the top right. If you do have a, what do you call those icons? If your email address matches to an icon, then it'll appear up here. What are they called again?
No.
I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But you can change your user settings here. So you have an email address which is static, but otherwise you can change your password. And at the moment we have quite minimal metadata about users. We have also support for SSH keys. So there is some support at the moment for SSHing into this machine to get SSH access to the machine. That's something we'll discuss whether it'll be in the final release or not. It's a feature people want, but whether we can do it securely or not is another issue. And then you can sign out here. But otherwise, what we have here is similar to what we had before. We have basically a history of events. You can see there's being a change log or an audit log. And then we have a search bar up at the top, which is interesting. And then we have a couple of projects here. So there's two projects you can see already, and we have a new button to create a new project, and we can filter projects. So if we filter here, we get a real-time filter on them. So will we start with search?
Yes. If you type BBC, for example, in Defender, you will see.
Okay, so let's type BBC, but I have to. Okay, no result for BBC.
Lowercase.
Okay. So we have some case sensitivity issues there. I guess we should make everything case insensitive. Okay, that's good feedback. But what we can see here is that this is free text search, this bar at the top. So we have free text search for the, if we type nothing, it goes back to where we were.
If you type Zeppelin, you will see the dataset named Zeppelin inside both projects.
Okay, so there's Zeppelin.
So we look for either projects or datasets inside projects. This is a global search.
Okay, so what we should explain what this is. We have this notion of projects, which we just described. So projects
search whatever. Search
it's free text. No. Okay, so this is free text search. It's searching metadata about projects that we can see here, but also data sets. So we haven't talked about data sets at all yet, but a project contains a number of data sets, and people would like to maybe discover what data sets are there in the system. So like Vangela said, if we search for Zeppelin, we find this, and you can see it says here description data set. So Vangela, do you want to say something here about this?
Yes, when you find in the search results, you can see about some info about the dataset or the project that comes up. And then if it's a dataset, you can request, and then you find it interesting, you can send a join request
to the owner of it.
To the owner of the dataset, and then the owner, if it accepts the request, then you are able to go into the datasets and create files or see the contents.
Okay, so
see the content.
Yeah.
Well, we can see here. Okay, so we got a name for the data set. We have an owning project, BBC. There are no templates associated with it. So templates are metadata, and there's a description of it. So this just has a data set that contains the Zeppelin tutorials. Some more information about it. So who are the members of the project that own this data set? Who is it shared with? It's not shared with anyone at the moment. And then we have this linked projects here, and we have also buttons. So send request access is disabled at the moment, so I can't send a request to access this data set. So that's what this means. It says, well, I would like to use this data set, but you can't just use a data set. You have to say, well, I'd like to use it within this project. So let's say I want to access this data set Zeppelin. It's not in the project Biobank, it's in the project BBC. If I click it, then off it goes, the request is sent. We don't have the notification thing.
Notification is not working yet.
Okay. Okay, so we have a feature, so we have a notification feature here then, that where you'll get notified of that, and you'll be able to accept that or not. At the moment, if we do that, another way of doing it, instead of a user requesting sharing the data set and jumping into a project now, is that if we find this Zeppelin data set, here we have it here, me as owner of the project, I can say, well, I'm going to share this data set explicitly, and I can share it with the Biobank project here. And then I can decide on what type of access they get. Do they get read-only or read-write access? And I can write a message here as well if I want. So let's share it with just read-only access, and let's say, there you go. And we've shared it now. So if we go back, if we click this link, we come back to our this is the entry page or landing page for the site. We can do the search again. So we search for data sets, but we can search for projects. So if I we only have two here. It's again, we need to, it's case sensitive at the moment. It should be, I guess, case insensitive. So Vangelis, what happens here? So I see two projects, Biobank and Biobank data set. That's not a project set.
No, it's you see one project, and since you have bio, this prefix matches with the project name Biobank and the dataset which is inside this project. You don't see Zeppelin because this prefix doesn't match Zeppelin.
Sure. Okay. So if we click on the
Yeah,
project,
the point is you see the data sets and projects grouped together in this.
so in your global search, you see data sets on projects. So if we previously we looked at the data set and we asked, could we share it with someone? And now we're in we're looking at a project, and the project looks different. You can see the button we have is not a request to share the data set, but rather it's a request to say, I'd like to join your project. So sometimes users might think, well, that looks like a good project, I'd like to join it. And you can send a request from here to say, please join the project. Okay.
And the project, I mean, semantically for you, the project is a set of
It's a
data
study.
sets. It's a study.
A study. We call it a project, but it's a study.
Why did you change the name?
Because it's more generic.
I understand you.
Project is more generic than study. Study is very specific, and
Studies is for
we
biology.
can call it study. I mean, we can rebrand it to study. Like I said, this branding up here, HopsWorks, is because it's a generic platform. We've changed that to BiobankCloud,
I mean,
and we
don't
can
think
call
that's
this
a problem.
studies rather than projects. It makes no difference to us.
No, I don't think that's a problem. But you don't have the other information about the study and some collection.
Oh, well, we'll get there. We'll get there. So let's go into a project. Here's a project called BiobankCloud, or a study. And the study has a number of services. Actually, let's create one. Let's create a new one. So let's create one, and we'll call it LifeGene. And we'll say lots of people will be followed in this longitudinal study. Longitudinal. Yes, I got it. Right, and I can add people to the project. So we have a number of different users. If you want to try and log in, you can do this. You can follow us at home. So we have admin@kth.se, password admin, admin at HU.Berlin, hu.berlin.e, password admin, admin@kr.se, password is admin. The password is admin, isn't it? No. Oh no, sorry, it's not. It's I'll mail these out to the list. Sorry, I should have done this earlier.
I see, it's the list I sent you.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay, so if you want to log in, let's just find the link to it then as well. Okay, there we go. More spam for the rest. Right. So we can add people. Let's add a bunch of people here. And then we can pick services. So we don't have to pick services to begin with. We can just create it. And now our project's created. You can see it here, LifeGene, BBC, BiobankCloud. So we can create it. It's actually created a folder in HDFS. So yeah, so sorry, we're jumping around here. Okay, so these are our projects that we saw earlier on. So we created a new one called LifeGene. So I can click it to go into the project or study. And the project now is only the people who are members of the study can go in here and see it. So John Doe at Berlin and admin at KTH can come in, but nobody else can. And I can say, well, you know, Jürgen will only be a data owner, so we change that. And this is me here, I think, actually. Yeah. So do I want to add some more people? Who else have we got? So we can add Jane Doe as AI, and then we can pick a role. So Jane can be a data owner or data scientist. And now we have a team for the members of the study. Okay, so this is the owner of this project or study can decide on who the members are and change the privileges and roles of the members. What should we save? Yes. Let's double check, make sure that's saved. We'll go do it. Yes, okay, data scientist. So that's the membership of your study, and you know, anybody who has an account on this BiobankCloud platform, we can find them by adding them as new members. And you know, you can do if I type in Jane, it'll give me Jane down here. It's being highlighted. So sorry, this thing on the right is nothing. It's only a kind of it's just showing you how much of the different services are in the system. We may remove it. We haven't decided yet. It confuses people, I think, more than anything. Okay, we're removed.
No, it's nice. But
it looks nice, but it's not
it
practical. Yeah, no, yeah. Okay, so the project itself has a number of services. We have jobs, which are used by, we'll add jobs because that's uniform. And then we have Zeppelin, and then we have SSH, we just add all of them. And you can see they appear on the left-hand side here as services. So automatically when we create a project, we get a couple of folders, a logs folders and a resources folder. We can create a new folder. We call them data sets at the highest level, not folders, but data sets. So we can call this the NGS data folder. Let's just call it NGS data. Data set. So what you can see here is interesting. We have this thing called templates here, and you can see we can say, oh, well, this is going to be, is it going to be a sample collection study or a sample? In this case, it might be a sample collection. So should I attach the metadata, or is it okay to add it here?
It's okay.
Okay.
We can add the metadata later.
Yeah, and then we have this button here, which is searchable. So what searchable basically means is that the metadata will get exported to Elasticsearch for searching. Yeah. So if we create that now, we can see here's our folder called NGS data, and we can go inside it. We can go back and see here. It has a description, but we then have this add metadata and add metadata template. So if we go, how do we get some metadata design?
If we right click on the dataset, we click add metadata.
Or add metadata template, or
we already have a template.
Okay, so we can. All right.
So then you see the template where you can describe your dataset the way you want. Actually, this is a pre.
This is a template that is
I
prepared.
have already prepared it for this one. Yeah. You can add or remove as many fields as you want. There's no restriction on that. When you see the actual fields, the description of the fields, it's visible on the exclamation mark icon.
Yeah, so here we have a description of all the fields. So this is metadata for the data set that we looked at, NGS data. And
if you touch more templates, then you can select from the drop-down list. For example, if we go back right now, we can add one more template.
Okay, so we can actually add a new template to it then. So we had one already called sample collection. Yeah.
These are the other ones.
So we can, it doesn't really make, I mean, a study would be maybe at a base, at the project level. But we'll leave it at sample collection for the moment, but because we only need one template on this one. But the point with what is the sample collection metadata? Well, it's something you can design, right? So here we have, this is sample collection down here. So this is the actual sample collection metadata. Yes.
This is the template.
This is the template for it, okay? So if we add something now to the template, so we can customize this. So this is the MyAbas template for sample collection, and we have contact information, collection information, sample information, disease. And what's interesting is the type of information you can put in each of these entries. So a name, if we click on this, you can see configure this field. This field we can say, we can decide on a per field basis whether these should be searchable or not. So if we make it searchable, then your first name and your country will now appear when we do free text search for data. Okay. If we decide not to make it searchable, then it won't be included in the index.
In other words, you can decide which fields you want your search to be applied on. When you write text, you can select which fields your text goes against and try to match. If you don't make any of those searchables, then when you search text, you will only search for names.
Yeah, for the names.
The names of the studies, for example. If you make those searchables, then your search term will be applied to all of those.
So all of the
Yeah.
attributes.
Okay, so
That's the-
what's interesting here as well is that you can also make fields mandatory. So we can say first name and last name are mandatory required fields. Okay, let's save that. And we'll go back.
It's auto saving. Yeah,
It's auto saving. Okay. And if we add metadata template, if we add actual metadata. It's disappearing on me. I don't know. So, okay, it's the one we had earlier on. Okay, so we have
right now it's looking for all the fields by default. It's not excluding anything.
Okay. So, but there's no icon for required or mandatory.
No, because it looks for all fields.
Okay.
Default behavior.
Okay, that's something we can add then, I guess, in there if we choose the mandatory. But yeah, you can see basically that if we went back to the designer, we had this contact information is one of our boxes.
Yeah, that's the next stage.
Yeah, the other one, so collection information, sample information, and disease. So what's interesting here is these are free text boxes here, but some of them aren't. So collection type are drop-down lists, and this one is a single value, or it's a single value.
We don't have any multi-value
in this template, but we also have multi-valued selection boxes.
Yeah, you have these already.
Actually, we can add the one over here on the fly.
Okay, let's go back and do it then. Okay.
In the template.
Yeah, so we can add. Let's say we want to add in the collection type. Okay, the collection type itself is.
You can change this type here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is a single value selection. New field type. Okay. But how do we change one that exists already?
You should be able to see what number of types in the drop-down list. Then you create a new one.
Let's create a new one. Okay. Let's call it just multi-value. Select multiple entries, and in this case, how do I? I'm not coming up here. Refresh. Sorry? No. How do you mean refresh here?
No.
What?
The box, don't click the text, click next to the text. You're not a designer.
All right, let's go back. All right, we're on the metadata designer. Don't click on the text.
No.
Try to click on the space here.
Oh, here. Okay. Okay, so we have some issues there with that. Okay.
So now if you have an symbol, you should be able to see the types.
Do we add one here, or? Okay, so.
No, now it's okay.
Right. Okay. I think it's a resolution issue, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe if we go like this. No, it wasn't a resolution. Okay. Multi. So here we have our different types. So we have text, single value selection list, and multi-value selection list. You can say 1. So we're going to just pick some values, 1, 2, and 3. And you can see it appeared here in the collection information multi-valued list, and it's auto saving as Miguel said. So if we add metadata for it, it was in collection information. Yeah. So now we have the multi-value one appears down here. This was our description, which was very simple. That was the name of the field, and then we can pick 1, 2, or 3. So let's pick 1. And we can pick 2, and we can pick 3. So we can pick both 3. And if you want, you can then reset it, select none, and then just select 1. So you can select 1 from anywhere. probably fix it. Oh, so yeah, just select. Save. Okay, so then you can see we've saved from there. So, like we've shown there, it's pretty easy to extend this metadata into your metadata designer. You can refresh. Oh, I refresh from here. Okay. So we have some refreshing issues here. Okay.
We also need to mention that we can download this template as a JSON file. You see those?
Oh yeah.
So the JSON.
Yes. Do you see those two?
All right, this button here, is it?
Yes. If you click on that, you can download this.
Okay.
As JSON file.
Nice. So this would be all of these four.
Yes. Yes. And then you can include it. Then if you request it,
Yeah. And then we can upload it again.
you can upload it again.
You pick the file. It is download. Yeah. And then oh, it's appeared again. All right, as a duplicate. Yeah.
You can change the name though. You can click and change the name.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Okay.
But this way to transfer templates from people to people and from machine to machine.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
That's really nice.
And then of course you can delete the template by clicking the red button.
Okay. Yes, of course we can delete fields. So we can delete the one we just added. I guess it will disappear when we close it. And if we go back to the add metadata, okay. And the guy is still here, isn't it? Does it, what's the behavior? What's the defined behavior?
It should be,
it
should be removed.
Okay, so next time it'll be removed. Let's see if it's still there. It's still here. Oh, do you know, maybe I removed it in this one, did I?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
I removed it in the wrong one. Okay. Let's remove it from here. Save it. And do it properly this time. We don't need to refresh. Okay, so now it's removed. Okay, so now it's removed from the sample. Okay. So the metadata designer, you can extend existing templates. You can create new ones as well. You can upload ones, as Vangelis mentioned. You can download and share them and upload them. You can just also edit this by adding tables. So we can add a new table called BiobankCloud extension. I can't spell extension. And from here, then we can add, we can just add one here. So we have some refreshing issues to deal with. We're adding now a column to this table. I'm going to think of it that way. It's auto-saved. And then if we go back to our NGS data, we can add metadata here, and you can see here's my MyOffice extensions appear here. And we can actually single value in the description of the So, sorry?
There's a back button.
There's a back button, yeah, that comes better. So can we do some searching here?
Yes, if you look for the already created, it will appear.
Okay, so we got NGS. Did we make a search for NGS? Is it the name of the folder? It's not working.
The name should appear.
Logs. The logs not appear on it, no?
Logs is not suitable by default. If you go to the main page.
Let's go to BiobankCloud or one of these. give some data sets here. Yeah, and let's go do the one as Zeppelin, doesn't it? BBC. So, okay, so here, so what's interesting here is we're inside the project BBC, the study BBC, and now we're searching inside the project, not outside, not for projects or for data sets, but rather for files or metadata inside here. Sorry?
And folders.
And folders,
Whatever
yeah.
there is under the project.
Yeah, so anything inside the project basically. So you're gonna have a project with millions of files and you're searching, and from a security perspective, this is multi-tenancy. So people outside of your study or project can't see what's inside your project. They just see the data sets you have and that you make visible, and then the name of your project. But this is a handy way of finding data inside your project. They can grow quite large. So in this particular example, we have Zeppelin, which just has one file here. You can upload.
If you look for bank now, you will see this file appearing in the results.
Yeah. So if we look for bank here, there's bank. And
now the search is restricted under a specific data set.
Yeah.
The further down you go to the top, the further you narrow
Narrow
the
the
search
search.
results.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and if you have a data set like this, you can upload data. So we can upload some files or folders. You can drag and drop them in there, and they'll end up being added to. Here's a log file. Not very big, but it'll end up getting added to HDFS. I can see it's gone green. That means it's done.
If you look for it, you will be able to find it.
Let's have a look for it. 2000, does it? It's like numbers. It does. Okay, so there it goes. Finds our file that we added, and that takes a few seconds, I guess, until the file. 5 seconds is the default between adding a file. So, yeah, any files can have metadata associated with them. So these ones don't, but there's no template attached to it. We can take a file like this one and we can add a metadata template to it. So, you know, we can say I'm going to add sample metadata, because this is an individual sample for a person. And once the sample, you can see now we've attached the sample metadata to a file, then we can edit that metadata for that particular file. So we can say here, you know, the sample time, whatever, I don't know what that is, parent ID, anatomical site, stoma, and temperatures, material type, sample ID, and
Then if you come back, you save it.
did it save it?
Yeah, save it.
Okay.
Just do it.
Yeah, okay. So if we look down here on the right, what we can see now is there's the metadata associated with.
And then if you
The file.
decide that something is wrong, you can edit it in place.
You can edit it in place. So it wasn't my stomach, it was my
I say
leg. Okay. What was there? So I guess this metadata, we didn't make it searchable, or did we?
Those should be searchable. Yeah. If you look, for example, for one keyword, it should appear on the
Leg. Okay, there we go. There's our file there. Related to leg. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so that's, I guess, do we have much else to add on data sets? We have only 15 minutes left or so.
I think we covered most of them.
We've covered most of the things. You can create new folders. Folder is not the same as a, so like if we're inside it, this is at the highest level, these are data sets. So we have a flat namespace for data sets at the top. So if you want to share a data set, you can only do it at this level. But if you go inside a data set, like this one, then they're just folders. They're not actually data sets. They're not the unit of sharing is the data set, not folders inside data sets. You can't share them across projects.
Mm-hmm.
And the minimal information you can look for is either the name of the entity or the description. Projects and data sets and folders, they all have the name and description.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have any metadata to it, then you will be able to only look for names and descriptions. But the further you add the data, then the further you extend your search. You will be able to look for metadata as well. And our data is is whatever type you define it to be.
Yeah, and you can define metadata
Yes,
to
of
any
course.
level.
Yes.
That's really good. Very good.
Okay, so just some other things that you can do. Is that we saw that you have a bunch of services in your project. This one you can see jobs and SSH aren't enabled, so we just save them and enable them. With SSH at the moment, the way it is that you can actually SSH into this machine and you get a per project. This is the BBC project. So you get an account called admin__BBC, which is created for just this project. So this will be you'll have an account created on this machine, and from there you can access HDFS or Yarn with this username. All of the folders and files stored in here in this project BBC, you will have it per user. So my username is admin, so the username in HDFS and Yarn associated with the data in here is the project name, BBC, __ my username. Oh, sorry, it's the other way around. So my username is admin and then underscore instead of project name. So what we have is per project usernames. And the reason we have that is because we don't want people to cross-link data across projects. So if you have an account, so you have one login account, but you have different accounts for each project. So you only need to log in once. So you only authenticate once, but you're authorizing against per project usernames. So that means in practice, when you're running a Yarn job, it's going to run as the per project username. And that per project username will not have rights to read data in other projects. Let's look back at the shared data set we had. So we were sharing Zeppelin with, was it this one? Yeah, so what we can see here is this is the shared Zeppelin data set. You can see there's a : notation here. So our what actually happens is that if you want to write programs in Zeppelin, is Zeppelin open? Okay, so we'll look at Zeppelin. So if I want to write a program in Zeppelin and access the data in here, I don't need to put in the full path name in HDFS to this folder. I can put in a relative path name. And our name node will interpret the : to say, oh, hang on, this is from a different project. It's from the BBC project. So I'll just substitute in the path for the BBC project instead of the path for the current project, BiobankCloud. Okay, so let's have a look at Zeppelin. So what Zeppelin is basically is a interactive analytics. Let's turn off Spark.
If you click on the tutorials, it will.
Okay. So is this up and running?
No, if you go back, you close.
Go back. Yeah.
Just click on HDFS. This is my test data.
Okay, all right. So this is one that we've done earlier on.
And yeah, this has to change as well. This has to be the project name.
Which is what? Not file. Biobank.
Which is it's another project.
We can log in. Okay. So we'll have a look at that in a second. But before we go to Zeppelin, let's have a look at jobs. So we should go to a different project because I think I enabled jobs here. Yes, jobs. I don't know if Jürgen is on the line. He said he would be. Let's start out and look at jobs. So jobs basically are fat jars or programs that you can run on your.
That's the bioinformatics part.
This is bioinformatics. So let's call it alignment job. And at the moment we have 3 jobs. Maybe extend this over time. Sorry, demos. So we have Atom, Cuneiform, and Spark. And let's look at Spark firstly. So Spark is just a jar file that you select. So you would typically upload a jar file into HDFS and then select it from here. And then go ahead and run it. We'll go back. If we pick a cuneiform workflow, let's see if I have one locally. I haven't been very well organized on this. Let's upload a cuneiform workflow first. Do I have one locally? I hope I have one.
Or is it format of the cuneiform workflow?
Yeah, so the cuneiform workflows, let's find one down here. Highway chef. I just found one here. And I'm just going to copy it to my one. WordCamp folder. Okay, so I just found a cuneiform file, and I copied it in here. There it is, and we'll upload it. So I've now uploaded it to the this is the resources folder. So if we go back to our jobs and we want to create a job, and we call it alignment cuneiform, and we select our workflow file, resources. There we go. Select it, and it's, I don't know if it's found any input variables. It should have bound some input variables there. You unbound input variables just like we're given here, and divide them. And then you fill in your yarn parameters, how many cores you want to run with, how much memory you need for it, and if you need to add libraries, that will be included in your yarn job, and then you can schedule when you want to run it. If you want to run it now, or you can start it now. And it creates a job, and you can then run it. And we can do the same again for Adam. Test job type Adam, and in Adam you have a bunch of built-in commands, so you can click on them and say, okay, I want to run this compare command, which is going to compare to Adam file. Fill in your parameters, configure, create it, and we always get back to this launching UI. So the UI basically allows you to launch jobs now or to schedule them to run it sometime in the future. And what you get back at your jobs dialog will be the list of jobs that are created, and you can then reload them as you did before. So let's go back and have a look at Zeppelin, because I'm trying to get it.
Yes, it's on our BBC project.
Okay, so this is it here. Yeah. So
it's instead of BiobankCloud BBC.
BBC, yeah.
Then case.
Capital one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all capitals. Okay.
Then it's Zeppelin.
No data.
Okay.
First back. Love it.
So now if you run it.
This should run a Spark job. I think it's Spark.
Yes, it's
Spark loading data from hops HDFS into an RDD called bank, and then it should register that RDD as an SQL table. So it says running 0%. I guess it's starting it up, so it's going to be a little bit slow. It says finished now. But in fact, that RDD just loads up the RDD. Then we have other, in our notebooks here, we have some other paragraphs here that do different things. And what we can see here, these ones visualize what we did. So the data we read up was actually just some bank data, CSV data. And these particular graphs are plotting it. So what we can do is we can actually change how we plot it on the fly and rerun it. So now that RDD is up in memory. And if we change this from less than 40, we can see it runs it and regraphs our data. And we can then visualize that differently. And we can rerun it again. It goes a bit faster because once Spark is run once, the Spark master is up and running. And there you go. So it looks very nice. So we can change this one to 60, run this one. And you can do this with interactive analytics with. So this is Spark that we're showing here running on HDFS or HopsFS, and we can, like we said already with Zeppelin, it supports more than just Spark.
Once you refresh this right-hand side list, you'll see the interpreter running.
Oh yeah, so we have our interpreters running. So did you start that? Or
it was already
running, okay. And we can stop that if we want to. These are actually processes that are, the interpreters are just processes running locally on this machine. And the Glassfish web app is starting and stopping. And we have Flink, Hive are interesting, and most of the other ones I guess aren't that interesting for BiobankCloud. We're running out of time. Are there any questions? Anyone here? I guess more people here than there are online. How many people do we have online? We have 4 viewers. No one's chatting. There's nothing happening on Skype, I believe. So, any questions? Maybe Ali? I'll put that behind that. So what, I mean, what do you guys, do you want to look at anything in particular? Or?
Yeah, we wanted to see if it's possible for us to reuse this in another way.
Yeah.
Outside the BiobankCloud, it's possible to have this.
Who's the developer? Here. Right. So this is a Java web application. Of course, you can reuse stuff. You can use anything in it.
But to download to install the same thing, right? To start.
Oh yeah, sure. We forgot. Okay, yeah. Sorry, Caramel.
So that's,
Let's go and see how far Caramel is
I'm
work.
just asking if anyone else can help and install it from scratch.
Yeah. So please try and install it from scratch because it should work. So let's go back and see what happened to Caramel. It says it's done, and we have our services here, and we can see there should be some of them working. Click here to launch Houseworks in your browser. I'll try the HTTP one. Try my chances. No. What happened there? Normally it works. So let's see if Yarn is up. Yarn is not up. Aim node is up. The HDFS is up and running. Okay, there may be something going on here. I don't know. You start a history tracker? No. We didn't. Okay, so there was something went on. So the way you debug that is basically you SSH into the machine and see what went on. But I promise I'll be up by this evening. We'll get that back fixed. I don't know what the issue is now. Okay, we're going to finish this webinar. So unless anyone else has any more comments or questions or anything, we'll talk. Go on. Do you want to have a question on the webinar? Or?
I don't know, the question is, I can take it back.
Okay, we're going to take questions offline here locally. Thanks for joining us. We're going to say goodbye. Bye.